The sun had barely begun to rise over Millbrook, yet the town was already whispering awake through soft vibrations of the morning. The sky was painted in faint strokes of pink and orange, stretching across the quiet rooftops of newly built suburban houses. These homes, lined neatly in rows like perfectly arranged matchboxes, reflected the growing American dream of the 1950s: order, stability, and hope after the world had seen the darkness of war. On Main Street, the windows of small family-owned shops caught the early morning light, shining with fresh advertisements for everything from laundry soap to refrigerators, which were becoming symbols of modern life. The scent of warm biscuits and brewing coffee drifted gently out of Doris' diner, the social heart of Millbrook. At exactly 7:30 a.m., as it had done every day for years, the sharp mill whistle pierced the calm air, rolling through the town like an announcement that the day had officially begun. Inside the diner, young Danny Carter moved quickly from booth to booth, filling steaming coffee cups with practiced confidence. His crisp white apron, carefully ironed minutes before he left the house, gave him a sense of purpose. Doris, the diner's owner, watched him with her gentle, motherly smile. "Big day today?" she asked, noticing the nervous tapping of his fingers against the coffee pot. Danny's brown eyes lit up with excitement mixed with worry. "The school science fair. I'm showing my solar battery," he replied. Doris nodded approvingly and patted his shoulder. "In 1955, if you're building something futuristic, you're already one step ahead." Outside, men in neatly pressed suits stepped into gleaming Chevrolet Bel Airs and Ford Fairlanes, cars that symbolized not just transportation, but identity and success. Car culture was becoming part of the American fabric, with chrome shining like jewelry under the sun. The roads hummed with life as engines roared softly, radios played the latest hits, and families waved goodbye to fathers heading to factories, offices, and shops. Housewives pushed baby strollers along sidewalks bordered with picket fences. Children rode bicycles with bells that echoed through the sleepy streets. It was a world that seemed organized, predictable, and altogether hopeful. Television antennas glinted from rooftops, promising entertainment, information, and connection. Families gathered each night for shows like The Ed Sullivan Show, where new talents shaped the imagination of a growing nation. The booming post-war economy gave people comfort in the belief that the future was bright and full of opportunity. Yet beneath the polished surface, social and cultural currents were shifting. The country stood on the edge of major transformations: civil rights movements, cultural revolutions, and technological advancements. Danny wiped his hands and stared out the diner window for a moment, watching the world move. He didn't know it yet, but the simple routines of his 1955 life were part of a much bigger story. America was changing, and so was he. Friday night in Millbrook shimmered with energy in a way no other night of the week could match. Streetlights flickered on one by one, casting golden circles along the pavement as teenagers flocked toward Miller's Drive-In, a buzzing hub of American youth culture. The neon sign above the restaurant glowed bright red and blue, casting vibrant reflections across the polished cars lining the lot. This was the sacred gathering place where stories were shared, hearts were broken, friendships strengthened, and young dreams took shape over hamburgers and thick milkshakes. The air carried a blend of sizzling meat, crisp fries, and the sugary sweetness of root beer floats. It felt like the entire world had shrunk into the glowing space around the drive-in. Danny rode with his best friend Johnny, whose pride and joy was his turquoise 1955 Chevy, a car that never failed to draw attention. As they pulled into a spot near the jukebox, the hum of conversation and laughter surrounded them. Girls in bright skirts and ponytails bounced to the rhythm of music that floated through the night. Boys leaned coolly against their cars, trying to appear older, tougher, or smoother than they really were. The drive-in was their stage, and everyone played a role. Johnny twisted the radio knob, searching for something good, when suddenly a wild, electrifying sound burst through the speakers. A sharp guitar rhythm, a driving beat, and a voice full of raw emotion. "That's him. That's Elvis Presley," Johnny shouted over the music. Instantly, a wave of excitement rippled through the teenagers around them. Some girls screamed with joy, clasping their hands over their mouths. Boys widened their eyes, intrigued by the bold new style. For the parents waiting in parked cars or picking up food trays, the reaction was mixed. Some frowned in confusion, unable to understand why the young generation was drawn to this rebellious sound. Others, though hesitant, felt a strange curiosity tugging at them. This was unlike anything they had heard before. Rock and roll had arrived like a thunderstorm, unpredictable and unstoppable. As the music pulsed, Danny felt the beat thump in his chest. Something inside him shifted. It was as if the world had suddenly expanded beyond the borders of Millbrook. He joined the small crowd forming around the jukebox, moving his feet in awkward steps that slowly found rhythm. For the first time, he felt he belonged not just in a town, but in a cultural moment that stretched across the country. But beneath the fun and music, America in 1955 was undergoing deeper changes. Rosa Parks had refused to give up her seat just months earlier, sparking a wave of protests. The civil rights movement was rising. People were questioning old rules and pushing for new freedoms. The nation was a mixture of joy, conflict, hope, and restlessness. As the night grew deeper, teenagers danced under neon lights, lost in the new sound. Danny didn't know it, but the world he lived in was about to transform forever. The morning of the Millbrook High School Science Fair arrived with an unusual sense of anticipation. The entire gymnasium had been transformed into an arena of curiosity and invention. Tables covered in white cloth stretched from one end of the room to the other, each holding projects crafted by students who dreamed of becoming scientists, inventors, engineers, and explorers. Bright posters displayed colorful diagrams, models, and experiments. The smell of fresh paper, glue, and chalk filled the air. Danny carefully set up his solar battery prototype, adjusting wires and tightening small screws with meticulous care. His hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the weight of expectation. His mother had kissed his forehead before he left home, telling him no matter what happened, she was proud. That meant everything. Parents filed into the gym, chatting excitedly as they examined each project. Teachers moved between tables, offering encouragement and last-minute advice. The chatter rose and fell like waves. The world was becoming more obsessed with progress, and science fairs like this one symbolized America's hunger for innovation. The whispers of the coming space age had already begun to reach small towns, inspiring kids to build rockets, radios, and everything in between. Danny's project was small compared to the volcanoes and elaborate solar system models around him, but he believed in it. A tiny light flickered under a lamp, showing that sunlight, captured and converted, could power a device. In 1955, this idea felt like touching the edge of the impossible. Two judges approached his table. One was a stern-faced science teacher, and the other a visiting engineer from a new electronics plant that had recently opened outside town. The engineer leaned forward, studying the device with genuine interest. "What inspired this?" he asked. Danny cleared his throat, feeling his nerves tighten. "I think sunlight could be the future. Maybe someday it can power cars, homes, even airplanes." His words came out hesitant at first, then grew stronger with conviction. The judges exchanged surprised glances. The teacher scribbled notes. The engineer smiled, a spark of curiosity shining in his eyes. "Young man," he said, "ideas like yours are what push the world forward." As he moved on to the next table, Danny let out the breath he'd been holding. He looked around the gym, taking in the energy of the room. Children's laughter mixed with the murmur of conversations. The world outside was changing. Civil rights protests, booming technology, shifting culture, and these kids were part of the generation that would shape those changes. When the winners were announced, Danny didn't win first prize. But he won something unexpected, a special award for innovation. His mother rushed to him and hugged him tightly, tears glistening in her eyes. "One day," she whispered, "the world will be ready for your ideas." Danny stepped outside the gym into the warm afternoon sun. He looked at the streets of 1955 America, shiny cars, tidy homes, neatly dressed families, and felt something new inside him. The future wasn't far away. It had already begun, and he wanted to be part of it.